Hello, Bay Ridge. Welcome to another edition of After Hours. Today I wanted to talk a little bit more about the gift of our worship each Sunday as we gather and what the Lord is calling us to. And I do want to remind us, I spoke on Sunday morning about how the resurrection changes everything, and it even includes that we worship on Sunday. That's not meant to try and condemn, there are other congregations that might worship on a different day of the week, but it is to point out to us the reality of the way in which we live and the gift and why the early church did shift to Sunday worship. To remind ourselves of these things is so encouraging, and so I want to take just a couple of moments to do that. Number one, we worship, as I mentioned a lot this morning. Christians gather for worship on Sundays because Christ rose from the dead on Sunday. That is the reason why Sunday is set aside as a special day for us, why it is so important for us, because of his resurrection. I mentioned, that in the New Testament we see so much about Jesus appearing to the gathered disciples on Sunday, where he would speak the word to them, where he would bless them, where he would feed them, where there was a response of worship from them, all of these elements that are part of our gathered worship each week. And so really the early church started doing this because every Sunday is a mini Easter celebration. And I want to encourage you to think about that. It is a great opportunity. You may have a rough week this week, but as you lay down to sleep this Saturday night, remind yourself that whatever the week has been, the eighth day is coming. It's Sunday morning. It's a new day. The tomb is empty, and God is coming to meet with me and feed me and speak to me and bless me. It's a really great reminder and a new start for us. But secondly, another reason why it was done is because in creation, the original creation and the light coming forth happens on Sunday. The first day of creation is actually Sunday, and the light that is created, God speaks and says, "Let there be light," and that happens to us. And so this is echoed in our recreation and our regeneration. The Apostle Paul links the new creation that is in us to the original creation. In 2 Corinthians 4:6, he said, "For God, who said, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Christ." And so as we gather each Sunday, we're remembering that we were created by God and he gave us the natural light of this world, but actually God gives us the light of his revelation to us. And he does that each week as we come together. We gather as the people of God, not only as those who have been created, but those who are part of the new creation. Not only those who enjoy the created light, but the light of the new creation. Thirdly, Pentecost is actually on a Sunday. So, 50 days later, as they gather together on that seventh Sunday, Pentecost is there as a Sunday. And this is when the Spirit was first poured out in fullness on the church. So on that first Easter Sunday, Jesus breathes on the disciples. But on Pentecost Sunday, he pours the Holy Spirit out upon the whole church in fullness. And so we gather each week as another chance to say, yes, the tomb is empty. Yes, God is giving us light of revelation. And yes, it's another mini Pentecost. God is pouring out the power of his Holy Spirit. I encourage you, as almost every week when we finish at the Lord's table, we are crying out for Jesus to give his Spirit to us fresh and new. Don't take that as just a ritual, a time to think that things are almost over. Be asking God to freshly empower you by the presence of his Holy Spirit. That is, every Sunday is not only a mini Easter, it is a mini Pentecost. And then the fourth thing is, this is a bit of a theological concept, but it's so important for us. In the new covenant, we rest and then we work. You remember in the original creation, God works and he creates for 6 days and then he rests on the seventh. But Adam, you remember, is created on that final day, and his first full day is a day of rest. But under the law, you had to work 6 days. You did all of your work and then you were given a Sabbath rest. But in the new covenant, we are given our Sabbath rest on the first day of the week. And it is out of that Sabbath rest that we work the other 6 days. It is a deep principle. In the law, you work to be blessed. You work to be given rest. But in the new covenant and under grace, we are blessed and then we work. We are given rest and then we work. Brothers and sisters, this is so important. If this seeps deep into your soul, it will change the way you view everything. And every Sunday, as we gather, we need to remind ourselves, we try to undermine all this. We speak of the weekend and we think of Saturday, Sunday. That is a misnomer. Sunday is not the weekend, it is the week beginning. And it is a fresh start. It is a day of grace. It is a day of blessing, out of which I'm going to work and go be a blessing to others. And then the last thing that I want to remind us, that I've been speaking a lot here over the last 2 months, is the importance of rhythms to try and teach us patterns and rhythms. The church changed its day consciously from Saturday to Sunday because it was doing it for a new rhythm. It was a new day after the resurrection, and that new day, that new creation, called for a new rhythm. And worship on Sundays is meant to reinforce all of these rhythms, that we are people of the resurrection, that we are people of the new creation, that we are people who are given the light of revelation, that we are people of the Holy Spirit, that the Holy Spirit is poured out upon us. We are people who live out of the empty tomb and out of Pentecost Sunday. All of that is meant to be reinforced each week as we gather. The church said this was so important. Everything is so new. We're going to change our rhythm so that every week at the beginning of the week, we are reminded of all of these things. And this is what is going to shape us. It shapes our very time. It shapes our very thought. It shapes our very way that we experience life and the way we go forth to bless others. So I want to encourage you, it's meant to be an anchor for our lives. It's meant to be a foundation for our souls. It's meant to structure the way we do everything. So I want to encourage you, make it a priority to gather with God's people each and every Sunday and to experience this and to let it form and fashion who you are as a person. There's a great hymn you can look up, and we'll try to give a link here, called O Day of Rest and Gladness, that points out many of these things. You can see it sung by the group Indelible Grace. If you just Google, you'll find Indelible Grace, O Day of Rest and Gladness. It's a great hymn that points many of these things out, and it reminds us to do that. And so with that in mind, I want to encourage you, plan your week for this week coming forward, that you're going to begin your week by gathering with God's people. As I've been saying, I want you to bring a friend, come early, enjoy worship with God's people, and then even stay around afterwards to enjoy a time of fellowship. Brothers and sisters, we are people of the eighth day, people of the new creation, people of the empty tomb and the fullness of the Spirit. May God's grace bless you as you go forth this week. Have a great week. God bless.